Have you ever had beef Wellington instead of turkey at Christmas? Shocking, right? But here's the surprising truth: in Europe, it's the king of feasts. It's iconic, it's elegant, it looks like pure luxury on a plate, and yet most people have never tasted it. Why? Because beef Wellington is ubiquitous, but also incredibly expensive, almost scary. But that's exactly what makes it so irresistible. Let's talk about real prices for a moment. Homemade beef Wellington, about $120, $250 for a loaf that feeds 6 people. High-end restaurants, $60, $150 per portion, and some restaurants charge as much as $250 for the deluxe version. Wagyu Wellington, $300, $500 per loaf, and ultra-luxury restaurants charge upwards of $1,000 for a truffle loaf. A5 Wagyu beef every holiday, as families prepare the traditional turkey and ham. More and more people turn to something more impressive: a beautifully wrapped, golden beef Wellington. And when you cut through the crust and reveal the soft, perfectly cooked filling, it feels like a moment, a spectacle, a culinary masterpiece. And honestly, that's why so many people dream of eating it at Christmas. But this question makes us ponder a little deeper. Why is beef Wellington so expensive? Is it the premium ingredients? Is it the precise cooking technique? Is it the hype, the symbolism, the Gordon Ramsay effect? Or is it simply because it has been revered for centuries as a staple at European feasts? Today, we explore that mystery. Why beef Wellington has such a huge appeal, why diners are willing to pay such high prices, and why Christmas seems to make this legendary dish more appealing than ever. Why does a beef Wellington sliced and plated usually cost between $42 and $83, sometimes even more at fine restaurants? Why do diners pay that price without hesitation, even when paired with a fine wine that costs as much as the meal? This is where things get interesting, because beef Wellington is more than just food. It's iconic, it's luxury, it's a culinary statement. Tonight is special. Every element of the experience is designed to elevate it to the upper echelon. When people order beef Wellington, they rarely eat it on its own. They pair it with a smooth red wine, Bordeaux, Burgundy, maybe even a vintage, because the richness of the filet mignon, mushroom duxelles, and puff pastry needs a little something rich to balance it out, something that enhances the flavors rather than overpowers them. And suddenly, your dinner is no longer just a meal, it becomes a moment. That's the psychology behind its exorbitant price tag. You're not just paying for the ingredients, you're paying for the sense of celebration, the craftsmanship, the prestige, and the tradition of serving a lavish dish during the holidays. But that still leaves open a bigger question. What exactly makes this dish so expensive? Is it the rare filet mignon? Is it the labor-intensive preparation? Is it the high failure rate? Is it the way it's been marketed and promoted over time? To understand why beef Wellington is so expensive, we have to peel back the layers, like the dish itself, and look inside. And that's where we're going next. To understand why beef Wellington is so iconic today, we need to turn back time, way back, to where this masterpiece first appeared. Beef Wellington has unmistakably British roots. The dish is often linked to Arthur Wellesley, the Duke of Wellington, the military hero who defeated Napoleon at the Battle of Waterloo. Legend says the dish was created to honor him, a golden, grand, regal-looking centerpiece worthy of a national hero. Whether every detail of that story is true or not, the association stuck, and beef Wellington quickly became a symbol of British pride and aristocratic dining. But how did it become a festive dish? In the old days, this was the kind of food served only at lavish celebrations: fine beef tenderloin wrapped in duxelles. Pâtissier and puff pastry wasn't everyday cooking. It was a showstopper reserved for moments that mattered. Wealthy households served it during Christmas and royal banquets, where the goal was simple: impress the guests. As time passed, beef Wellington traveled from aristocratic dining rooms to modern fine dining culture. Chefs around the world adopted it, admired it, and feared it, because this dish is unforgiving. A few seconds too long in the oven, and it's ruined. A poor wrap and the pastry separates, a weak sear, and you lose the signature contrast between crispy shell and tender center. And this is where Gordon Ramsay enters the story. No one has elevated Beef Wellington's fame more than him, his obsession, and yes, his legendary fastidiousness turned this dish into a global culinary benchmark. On his shows, chefs tremble when presenting a Wellington to him. For Gordon, it's sacred, elaborate, meticulous, and notoriously difficult to perfect, and that difficulty is exactly why the world fell in love with it. Beef Wellington, not just expensive, but designed to be expensive for a variety of reasons. Ingredients aside, a true Beef Wellington starts with the tenderloin, the most tender and one of the most expensive cuts of beef. There's no cheating here. It has to be cut down the middle, shaped evenly, and trimmed perfectly. Then comes the duxelles, a mixture of minced mushrooms cooked to a creamy consistency. Add a layer of PA or prime foie gras, then wrap it all in a delicate puff pastry shell that must bake evenly while still keeping the beef inside perfectly pink. But ingredients are only half the story. The real challenge is technique. The beef has to be seared just right, just enough to bring out the flavor, but not overcooking the center. The chef has to chill, wrap, roll, and shape it just right, and then comes the hardest part, temperature control. 1 degree higher, and the expensive filet mignon will be well done. 1 minute higher, and the crust will burn. That's why the famous Beef Wellington is ranked among the 4 most difficult dishes in the world to cook. Add to that the festive element, and demand skyrockets. During Christmas, people crave lavish, impressive dishes. Fine dining cultures around the world have put Wellington at the top of holiday menus because it symbolizes celebration, wealth, and craftsmanship. And as demand increases, so do prices. Restaurants also charge a premium for skill. Not everyone can make it properly, and the failure rate is high. So, between rare ingredients, high labor costs, and increased holiday demand, Beef Wellington is more than just a meal. It has become an economic phenomenon. Beef Wellington is truly a Christmas extravaganza, not just in Europe, but in the United States as well. For many families, it represents the pinnacle of culinary extravagance: expensive, elaborate, impressive, and festive. When you put a Beef Wellington on the Christmas table, you're not just serving dinner, you're making a statement. This is a festive dish. This is a special occasion-only dish at its core. Beef Wellington is famous for its complex combination of flavors and textures. Imagine a perfectly trimmed prime sirloin, the most tender, delicate cut of beef, encased in a rich mushroom pide, sometimes enhanced with foie gras or truffle duxelles, all wrapped up in a golden puff pastry shell, perfectly crispy on the outside while soft, pink, and perfectly tender on the inside. Harmony, contrast, precision. This is why the world calls it a masterpiece of fine dining. But what makes Beef Wellington truly iconic today is its association with one of the most famous chefs on the planet, Gordon Ramsay. Through his shows, restaurants, and reputation as a perfectionist, Beef Wellington has been elevated to new heights. Every time a contestant brings it to him, the whole room holds its breath. Because if there's one thing Gordon Ramsay cannot stand, it's a bad Wellington. His influence has transformed this dish from a British classic into a global culinary phenomenon. And that's not enough. Let's explain all the reasons why Beef Wellington is so expensive and popular at Christmas in the US. Let's start with the first reason: the ingredients. Beef Wellington requires the finest ingredients. You cannot make it with cheap cuts of meat. This requires a center-cut beef tenderloin, butter-like, perfectly shaped, and incredibly expensive. Then there are the duxelles, minced mushrooms cooked until a thick, rich paste forms. In more upscale versions, chefs often add truffles or foie gras, which adds to the price. Finally, the whole thing must be encased in puff pastry, a buttery dough that requires skill, temperature control, and timing. When you combine tenderloin, truffles, foie gras, mushrooms, and pastry, you're looking at a dish made with some of the most expensive ingredients in Western cuisine. Then there's the technique. The real reason this dish is so famous. Making Beef Wellington is a race against time and temperature. The beef must be seared at just the right time, just enough to bring out the flavor, but not too much to cook the inside. The mushroom mixture must be cooked until all the moisture has evaporated. The crust must be airtight, seamless, and chilled to maintain its shape. And finally, the entire Wellington must be baked with almost surgical precision. Just a few degrees higher, and the beef will be overcooked. Just a minute longer, and the pastry will burn. This is why beef Wellington is ranked as one of the 4 most difficult dishes in the world to cook. Even professional chefs dread it. Even Gordon Ramsay has said it will punish anyone who rushes it. So when a home cook decides to make it for Christmas, it becomes a challenge, a chance to prove skill, patience, and love for the craft. Another big reason why this dish shines at Christmas is its symbolism. Beef Wellington looks like a gift. The golden crust resembles gift wrapping paper. The beef inside is like a luxurious treasure. Its flavor is both delicate and rich, warm and noble. When it appears at a party, everyone pays attention. Guests compete to take pictures. Families gather together as the knife cuts through the golden crust to reveal the pink filling, the hit everyone is waiting for. This visual and emotional impact gives the dish its reputation as the king of festive parties. In the US, this dish appears not only at Christmas but also on holidays such as Valentine's Day, anniversaries, and important events. People see it as a way to turn dinner into an unforgettable moment. All of these factors, premium beef, expensive mushrooms or foie gras, complex cooking techniques, long cooking times, and the risk of failure, combine to make this dish extremely expensive. At high-end restaurants in the US, a slice of beef Wellington can cost between $50 to $200, depending on the ingredients and the chef's reputation. Even cooking it at home can cost a pretty penny if you buy the tenderloin, mushrooms, pastry, wine, and utensils needed to make it. Beef Wellington is more than just a dish. It's a culinary experience, a symbol of warmth, luxury, and celebration. That's why it's called the king of fine dining in Europe. Now we understand why beef Wellington is so expensive and so popular at Christmas. But do you think the reasons are really convincing? Is beef Wellington an overrated luxury dish, or is it really worth every penny? Some people claim it's perfect. The tenderness of the fillet, the umami of the mushroom, PTA, the rich crispness of the pastry. But others say nothing comes wrapped in dough that costs as much as a weekend getaway. So which side do you take? Is it a masterpiece, or just a splurge? And here's another good question. If beef Wellington is so expensive, is it really cheaper to cook it yourself? In theory, yes. But once you buy the sirloin, truffles, foie gras, mushrooms, pate, pastry, and all the tools, plus the time it takes to prepare it, is it really cheaper? Or are you just trading money for stress and a higher risk of failure? Then there's the cultural debate. Would you swap turkey for beef Wellington at Christmas? Traditionalists, definitely not. Turkey is the dish of Christmas. But more and more families are breaking the rules, opting for flavor over tradition. Which side are you on? And in Australia, it's often referred to as the upmarket sausage roll. Are we paying for flavor or the luxury that comes with it? We want to hear from you. So, would you like to try your hand at making beef Wellington on your holiday? On the plus side, cooking beef Wellington teaches you real culinary skills. You learn the temperature control, precision, timing, and discipline that only such a difficult dish can require. And when you succeed, the rewards are huge. Your guests will be impressed. The table will be quiet, and you've created a luxurious moment that everyone will remember forever. But the downsides are real. The ingredients are expensive. The beef alone can cost a pretty penny. The failure rate is high. One mistake, and your tenderloin will turn out to be a dry, overcooked, disappointing dish. And the time investment is huge. This is not a quick or easy dish, so the risk and reward are clear. The rewards are big if done well, but the heartache is huge if done wrong. But if you like a challenge, want to hone your skills, or want to say, I did it this moment, then go for it. And if you succeed, you will have a special and luxurious Christmas, instead of the traditional turkey. But if you value certainty, consistency, and stress-free Christmas, then buying it from a high-end restaurant may actually be a smarter investment. Beef Wellington reminds us that luxury food is about far more than taste. It's about craftsmanship. It's about the quality of the ingredients. It's about the time, precision, and skill that transforms simple elements into something extraordinary. And when we understand those factors, we start making smarter decisions about what we're really paying for, whether it's flavor, technique, or the experience itself. So before you make or buy a Beef Wellington, here are a few practical tips. Set your budget early. This dish can get expensive quickly. Especially during the holidays, choose a well-trimmed, high-quality tenderloin. It makes all the difference. Practice the technique before Christmas Day, so the pressure doesn't take over. Ask yourself, would you rather enjoy the challenge of cooking it, or trust a restaurant for the perfect result? And remember, the right wine pairing can elevate the whole experience. Luxury doesn't have to mean extravagance. When you understand the value behind a dish, you enjoy it with intention, not pressure. Wishing you and your family a warm, unforgettable Christmas celebration. What should we analyze next? Comment your ideas below. Why is it so expensive? If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment on what topic you would like me to cover in the next video. See you next time.